Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt like your emotions are your biggest enemy? Have you given your heart to people who never valued it? Have you let pain consume you until you felt lost? If so, you are not alone. But today I want you to realize something. Sometimes turning off your emotions is the greatest act of self-love. We live in a world where people take advantage of kindness, where sensitivity is seen as weakness, and where your emotions can become weapons in someone else's hands. If you keep letting your emotions rule you, you will always be at the mercy of others. That is why you must learn when to turn them off, to protect your heart, your mind, and your soul. This does not mean you should become cold or heartless. No, it means you should be in control. When people try to break you, when life throws challenges your way, do not react emotionally. Instead, step back. Breathe, think. Do not let anger, sadness, or fear dictate your decisions. Pain is temporary, but your response to it shapes your future. When someone betrays you, do not beg for their loyalty. Walk away. When the world is unfair, do not cry. Stand tall. When people disappoint you, do not lose yourself. Rise above it. True strength is not in reacting emotionally. It is in staying calm when everything is falling apart. It is in choosing peace over chaos. It is in knowing that your worth is not defined by how others treat you, but by how you protect your own heart. Emotions are an integral part of what makes us human. They give us the ability to feel love, joy, sadness, and pain. They allow us to connect with others, build relationships, and experience life on a deeper level. However, as much as emotions enrich our lives, they can also become our greatest weakness if not controlled. When emotions take over, they cloud judgment, lead to impulsive decisions, and make us vulnerable to unnecessary pain. Consider how often emotions have dictated actions that later led to regret. A moment of anger can destroy years of relationships. A wave of sadness can make someone give up on their dreams. Fear can prevent a person from taking opportunities that could change their life. When emotions are left unchecked, they can become a force of destruction rather than a source of strength. That is why mastering emotional control is essential, not to suppress feelings, but to manage them wisely. Detaching from emotions does not mean becoming cold or heartless. It means having the ability to step back, analyze situations logically, and decide whether an emotional reaction is necessary. It is about recognizing when emotions are helpful and when they are harmful. There are moments when emotions guide people in the right direction, but there are also times when they blind them to reality. The key is knowing the difference. One of the greatest dangers of uncontrolled emotions is that they can be easily manipulated. People those who wear their emotions on their sleeves often find themselves trapped in toxic relationships, being used by people who pretend to care but only seek personal gain. In such situations, detachment becomes a shield against emotional exploitation. Fear is another emotion that can become an obstacle if not controlled. Many dreams have died because of fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, or fear of the unknown. People hesitate to take risks because they let fear consume them. But what if fear was turned off? What if instead of focusing on everything that could go wrong, one focused on the possibility of success? Detachment from fear does not mean being reckless. It means acknowledging fear but not allowing it to dictate choices. It means seeing fear as information rather than a barrier. Sadness too can be overwhelming. When left unchecked, it becomes an emotional weight that drowns a person in self-pity and despair. Everyone experiences loss, disappointment, and heartbreak at some point. However, allowing sadness to take over only prolongs suffering. Instead of dwelling on what cannot be changed, emotional detachment allows a person to step back and focus on healing. It does not mean ignoring emotions, but rather preventing them from becoming a permanent state of mind. Anger is perhaps the most destructive of all emotions. It has the power to ruin relationships, create enemies, and lead to irreversible damage. Many times, anger causes people to say things they do not mean, act out of impulse, or make decisions that bring long-term consequences. The ability to detach from anger means recognizing when it is consuming too much energy and choosing to respond with logic instead of emotion. A person who learns to detach from anger gains control over their own life instead of allowing temporary emotions to dictate their future. Love, while beautiful, can also be dangerous when it blinds a person to reality. Many stay in toxic relationships because they are too emotionally attached to leave. They ignore red flags, tolerate disrespect, and lose themselves in the process of trying to make someone else happy. Detaching from love does not mean rejecting it. It means loving with wisdom, knowing when to walk away, and valuing self-respect over attachment. Love should empower, not weaken. It should bring peace, not constant pain. The ability to detach from emotions also brings mental clarity. When emotions run high, decisions are often made impulsively. A person caught in the heat of the moment might say yes to something they later regret or act without thinking of the consequences. Detachment allows for a moment of pause, a space to think rationally before reacting. It creates a sense of stability and control over one's own life. It is important to understand that emotional detachment does not mean eliminating emotions altogether. It means understanding their role, recognizing their impact, and deciding how much influence they should have. It is about balance, allowing emotions to be felt, but not allowing them to take over. It is about being emotionally aware, but not emotionally enslaved. In a world where emotions can be easily manipulated, used against individuals, or lead to unnecessary suffering, learning to detach is an essential skill. It protects mental and emotional well-being, prevents regrets, and allows for better decision-making. Detachment does not mean living without emotions. It means living with emotional intelligence. It is not about suppressing feelings, but about mastering them. It is the ability to turn off emotions when they become a weakness and turn them on when they become a strength. Not everyone deserves your emotional energy, yet many people give it away freely, often to those who do not value it. Emotions are powerful, and where you invest them can shape your mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. However, not everyone you encounter will appreciate, reciprocate, or respect the emotions you pour into them. Some will take advantage of your kindness, using it for their own gain, without a second thought about how it affects you. That is why it is crucial to be selective about who gets access to your emotions. Kindness is often mistaken for weakness, but there is a significant difference between being kind and allowing others to take advantage of that kindness. People with good hearts tend to believe in the goodness of others, offering love, support, and emotional investment without hesitation. They want to help, to be there for others, to give without expecting anything in return. While this is a beautiful quality, it also makes them vulnerable to those who see kindness as an opportunity for manipulation. There are individuals who will take all the emotional support you give, drain you of your energy, and walk away without a second thought. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that everyone they care about will care about them in the same way. The truth is, not everyone operates with the same heart. Some people only take, never give. Some only reach out when they need something. Some pretend to care, only to disappear when it is no longer convenient. The sooner you recognize these patterns, the sooner you can protect yourself from emotional exhaustion. Energy is not limitless. Emotional energy, in particular, is something that must be protected and preserved. Constantly investing it in the wrong people can lead to burnout, resentment, and a loss of self-worth. It is important to evaluate the people in your life and determine whether they uplift you or drain you. The ones who always bring negativity, who never check on you but expect you to be there for them, who only call when they need something, these people do not deserve your emotional energy. There is a difference between supporting someone in need and being used. True relationships, whether friendships, romantic partnerships, or family bonds, should be based on mutual respect and care. They should feel balanced, where both people are willing to give and receive emotional support. If you are always the one giving, always the one checking in, always the one trying to make things work, then you are in a one-sided emotional investment. Eventually, this takes a toll on your mental and emotional well-being. It is not selfish to protect your energy, it is self-respect. Too often, people feel guilty for setting boundaries, afraid of being seen as rude or uncaring. But boundaries are necessary. They teach people how to treat you. If you allow others to take advantage of you emotionally, they will continue to do so. But when you set limits on what you are willing to tolerate, you send a clear message. Your energy is valuable, and not everyone deserves access to it. One of the biggest emotional traps is feeling obligated to invest in certain people just because of history. You may feel compelled to keep toxic friendships because of how long you have known someone. You may tolerate unhealthy relationships because of shared memories. You may allow family members to drain your emotional energy because they're family. But history does not justify toxicity. A long connection does not mean you have to keep pouring your emotions into someone who takes without giving. What matters is how people treat you now, not how things used to be. Another mistake people make is believing they can change others by investing more emotional energy into them. They think that if they just love harder, support more, or sacrifice more, the other person will eventually change and appreciate them. But people do not change because of how much you invest in them. They change because they want to. Pouring more emotional energy into someone who does not respect or value it will not make them see your worth. It will always be people who expect you to be there for them, yet they are never there for you. The ones who disappear when you need help and demand your attention when they have problems. The ones who guilt trip you into supporting them but never offer the same in return, these people do not deserve your emotional energy. The moment you recognize that, you regain control over your emotional well-being. Protecting your emotional energy does not mean being unkind. It does not mean shutting yourself off from the world. It simply means being intentional about where you invest your emotions. It means surrounding yourself with people who appreciate and respect your kindness rather than exploit it. It means choosing relationships that nourish you rather than deplete you. It means realizing that your energy is precious and not everyone is worthy of it. Strength comes from emotional discipline, not from being emotionless. Many people mistake strength for the ability to suppress emotions entirely, believing that to feel nothing is to be powerful. But true strength is not about shutting down emotions. It is about knowing when to engage with them and when to step back. It is about controlling emotions rather than letting them control you. Emotional discipline allows you to navigate life's challenges with clarity and resilience, instead of being overwhelmed by feelings that cloud judgment. Life constantly presents situations that trigger emotional responses. Whether it is anger, sadness, frustration, or fear, emotions arise naturally in response to external events. However, allowing these emotions to dictate actions can lead to regret, poor decisions, and unnecessary suffering. A person who lacks emotional discipline reacts impulsively, saying or doing things in the heat of the moment without considering the consequences. On the other hand, someone who has mastered emotional discipline can recognize their emotions, process them, and choose their response wisely. There is immense power in knowing when to switch off emotions to protect your peace. Not every situation deserves an emotional reaction. Not every insult requires a response. Not every setback should be met with frustration. When emotions are allowed to take over, they create chaos, leading to stress, anxiety, and unnecessary conflict. But when emotions are managed with discipline, they become tools for growth rather than weapons of self-destruction. Emotional discipline is particularly important in difficult conversations and confrontations. Many people let anger or hurt drive their responses, leading to arguments that escalate rather than resolve. But those who practice emotional discipline know when to step away, when to listen, and when to speak with intention rather than impulse. They do not let others provoke them into reactions that steal their peace. Instead, they choose how to respond in a way that maintains their self-respect and inner stability. One of the most valuable aspects of emotional discipline is the ability to detach from situations that do not serve your well-being. This does not mean being indifferent or careless. It means recognizing when an emotional investment is causing more harm than good. Many people waste their energy worrying about things they cannot control, holding on to grudges that poison their happiness, or engaging in relationships that drain them. Emotional discipline allows you to step back, assess whether something is worth your energy, and walk away when necessary. Fear is another emotion that often paralyzes people. Many dreams go unfulfilled, not because of lack of talent or opportunity, but because fear keeps people stuck. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of uncertainty can stop someone from taking action toward their goals. Emotional discipline does not mean never feeling fear. It means acknowledging fear without letting it control your decisions. It means pushing forward despite fear, understanding that discomfort is often a necessary part of growth. Similarly, sadness is a natural and important emotion, but without emotional discipline, it can become overwhelming. Painful experiences are inevitable, but drowning in sorrow does not change the past or improve the future. Emotional discipline helps in processing sadness without letting it consume one's identity. It allows people to feel deeply while still functioning, to grieve without losing themselves in despair, and to heal without remaining stuck in the pain. Love, one of the most powerful emotions, also requires discipline. Many people believe that love alone is enough to sustain relationships, but emotions without boundaries can lead to toxic attachments. Emotional discipline in love means knowing when to give, when to step back, and when to walk away. It means loving deeply but not losing oneself in the process. It means recognizing that love should bring peace, not constant turmoil. Maintaining emotional discipline is not easy. It requires practice, self-awareness, and a commitment to inner peace. It involves recognizing emotional triggers and learning how to manage them effectively. It means resisting the urge to react immediately and instead taking time to assess situations with a calm mind. It is about knowing that not everything deserves an emotional response, and that sometimes the best reaction is no reaction at all. True strength lies in the ability to remain centered, regardless of what is happening externally. It is in choosing peace over conflict, wisdom over impulse, and self-control over emotional chaos. It is in knowing when to engage and when to detach, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to feel deeply and when to switch off emotions to protect inner stability. Emotional discipline is not about being numb, it is about being in control. It is not about feeling less, it is about feeling wisely. Those who master it do not become emotionless, they become unshakable. Pain is an inevitable part of life. No one can escape moments of disappointment, loss, or hardship. However, what separates those who rise from those who remain stuck is not the presence or absence of pain, but how they respond to it. Pain itself is temporary. It may feel overwhelming in the moment, but it eventually fades, changes, or transforms into something else. What truly matters is not the pain itself, but the reaction to it. Some allow pain to consume them, to define their identity, and to shape their future in a negative way. Others choose to use pain as a catalyst for growth, resilience, and purpose. The difference lies in perspective and the ability to channel emotions into something meaningful rather than allowing them to be a source of endless suffering. Pain can take many forms: heartbreak, failure, betrayal, loss, rejection, or disappointment. In each case, the initial reaction is often emotional. It is natural to feel sadness, frustration, or anger. However, lingering too long in these emotions can turn them into barriers rather than experiences to learn from. When people drown in pain, they allow it to dictate their thoughts, their actions, and their future decisions. They may become bitter, lose faith in themselves, or stop trying altogether. This is how pain takes control, not because it has power of its own, but because it is given power through reaction. There are those who have faced unimaginable hardships, losing loved ones, being betrayed by those they trusted, failing after years of effort, yet they refuse to let pain break them. Instead, they take the pain and use it as fuel. They turn heartbreak into wisdom, failure into lessons, and loss into motivation to appreciate life even more. They understand that while they cannot control what happens to them, they can control how they respond. This mindset shift is what leads to resilience. Resilience is not about never feeling pain. It is about refusing to let pain define the future. Growth comes when pain is seen as a teacher rather than a punishment. Every painful experience carries a lesson, whether it is about strength, patience, self-worth, or priorities. Those who learn from pain come out of it stronger and wiser. They do not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What can I learn from this?" This shift in perspective allows pain to become a stepping stone rather than a setback. Some of the most successful people in the world have faced failure, rejection, and hardship, but they did not let those experiences stop them. Instead, they adjusted their approach, improved their skills, and continued forward with even greater determination. Pain also reveals inner strength that might not have been discovered otherwise. Many people do not realize how strong they are until they have no other choice but to be strong. Pain forces growth by pushing individuals out of their comfort zones and into situations where they must adapt, change, or fight back. It is in the moments of struggle that true character is formed. People who have faced adversity and overcome it are often the most compassionate, the most driven, and the most purposeful because they have experienced firsthand what it means to struggle and survive. Channeling pain into purpose is one of the most powerful ways to turn suffering into something meaningful. Many great movements, businesses, and works of art have been created by people who took their pain and turned it into something valuable. Some who have faced deep personal struggles dedicate their lives to helping others overcome similar challenges. Others use creativity to express their emotions in a way that inspires or heals. Instead of allowing pain to break them, they use it to build something greater. The energy that comes with pain does not have to be destructive. It can be transformed into motivation, self-improvement, and progress. Every painful moment carries an opportunity to become wiser, to grow stronger, to develop deeper empathy, or to push forward towards something better. When pain is viewed as a temporary phase rather than a permanent state, it becomes easier to handle. The intensity of pain may feel unbearable in the moment, but with time and the right mindset, it passes. What remains is not the pain itself, but the choices made in response to it. No one can completely avoid pain, but everyone can choose how to react to it. Some let it consume them, while others use it as a foundation for something greater. The choice to rise above pain is always available. It requires strength, resilience, and the belief that no matter how difficult the present moment is, it does not define the future. Pain is temporary, but the way it is handled leaves a lasting impact. Those who choose to channel their pain into growth, resilience, and purpose not only overcome hardships, but emerge from them stronger, wiser, and more driven than ever before. Mastering emotional control is one of the most powerful ways to achieve inner peace. Emotions are a natural part of life, and they shape the way people experience the world. However, when emotions are left unchecked, they can create chaos, stress, and confusion. Many people allow their emotions to dictate their thoughts, actions, and decisions, often leading them down a path of regret and instability. The key to inner peace is not suppressing emotions, but learning to manage and control them effectively. The moment a person stops allowing emotions to control them, they gain freedom, clarity, and an unshakable mindset. Emotions are like waves. They rise, peak, and eventually fall, but when people let themselves be carried away by every wave of emotion, they lose control of their direction. They react impulsively, say things they do not mean, and make choices that are driven by temporary feelings rather than rational thought. This kind of emotional instability leads to unnecessary conflict, misunderstandings, and mental exhaustion. By mastering emotional control, a person learns to acknowledge their feelings without allowing them to dictate their behavior. Instead of reacting instantly, they take a step back, evaluate the situation, and choose their response wisely. One of the greatest benefits of emotional control is clarity. When emotions run high, they cloud judgment and make it difficult to see situations objectively. Anger can make a person say or do things they later regret. Fear can prevent someone from taking necessary risks. Sadness can distort reality and make problems seem worse than they actually are. But when emotions are controlled, the mind remains clear, allowing for better decision-making. A person who masters their emotions does not allow anger to push them into unnecessary conflicts, nor do they let fear hold them back from opportunities. They remain calm, collected, and in control of their thoughts and actions. Inner peace comes from the ability to remain steady regardless of external circumstances. Many people believe that their peace is dependent on outside factors, the way others treat them, their career success, or their relationships. But true peace comes from within. It is not about what happens around a person, but how they choose to respond to it. When emotions are in control, external negativity loses its power. Insults do not provoke a reaction, failures do not shake confidence, and disappointments do not lead to despair. Instead of being thrown off balance by life's ups and downs, a person with emotional control remains centered, knowing that their peace is not dictated by anything outside of them. Freedom is another powerful result of emotional mastery. Many people live as prisoners of their own emotions, constantly swinging between highs and lows. They are easily offended, easily angered, easily hurt. Their happiness depends on the words and actions of others. But when a person gains control over their emotions, they break free from this cycle. They no longer give others the power to determine how they feel. They do not allow negativity to take root in their mind. They choose how they feel rather than being controlled by external circumstances. This level of emotional freedom allows a person to live life on their own terms, without being at the mercy of fleeting emotions. An unshakable mindset is built on emotional control. Life is unpredictable and challenges will always arise. People will disappoint, circumstances will change, and obstacles will appear. But those who have mastered their emotions do not crumble under pressure. They do not let failures define them, nor do they allow setbacks to steal their motivation. They see every challenge as an opportunity to grow, every failure as a lesson, and every setback as a chance to come back stronger. Their mindset is unbreakable because it is not built on emotions that come and go, but on discipline, self-awareness, and inner strength. Relationships also improve when emotional control is mastered. Many conflicts arise not because of real issues, but because of emotional reactions. Misunderstandings turn into arguments, stress turns into irritation, and minor problems escalate into major fights simply because emotions are not managed properly. But when a person controls their emotions, they communicate more effectively. They listen before reacting, they think before speaking, and they respond with calmness rather than aggression. This creates healthier relationships, built on understanding and respect rather than emotional outbursts. Achieving emotional control does not mean eliminating emotions. It means understanding them, managing them, and choosing how to express them in a way that benefits rather than harms. It means recognizing that emotions are temporary, but the consequences of emotional reactions can be long-lasting. Those who master emotional control do not suppress their feelings. They simply do not let those feelings control them. They experience anger without letting it turn into destructive behavior. They feel sadness without letting it consume them. They acknowledge fear without letting it stop them. Mastering emotional control is a lifelong practice, but the rewards are immeasurable. The ability to remain calm in difficult situations, to think clearly despite challenges, to choose responses rather than react impulsively, these are the qualities that lead to true inner peace. When emotions no longer dictate actions, when external negativity no longer disrupts inner balance, when a person gains the power to choose their emotional state, they unlock a life of freedom, clarity, and unshakable strength. So I urge you today, guard your emotions like a treasure. Not every battle is worth your energy, and not every battle is worth your energy, and not every storm deserves your tears. Because the day you master your emotions is the day you set yourself free. Thank you.